All right, man. So when did you first have your first like DMT experience? Were you younger or were you older?
I was middle aged. I think I was in my middle 30s when I first had my first DMT experience. I had a friend, we'll call him Rye, and I had talked to him about some of my weird experiences that I had without any psychedelics, and he had told me that I should try DMT. And I happened to have some, and I was sitting there in the room with me and another friend. Uh, her name's Curly. We were sitting there, and we both knew Kai, and he smoked us out. He put it on a green screen, and I smoked it, and I went in pretty quickly. And as I laid back, I was going down a tunnel, and I saw this goblin, and he was telling me to come on, over here, you know. And it was leading me to a doorway, and then the doorway opened up, and then I stepped out, and all of a sudden I felt like I was in the cosmos. I was in the universe, you know. And I got a message basically saying that all the spiritualities of the world were both bullshit and right at the same time, that they all had it right, but they all had it wrong too. And it was a really weird experience. I think my friend, she was tripping out. Like she saw like caterpillars coming out of her hands and shit. She didn't nod out. She stayed awake, and she was like like tripping out. It was really crazy. But yeah, my first experience was that. Like it was a goblin leading me down into a tunnel, into a doorway that opened up into the cosmos, and that was the message that I got. And at some point, I felt like I was being scanned by something too. It looked like, I couldn't explain it, like a flower with an eye inside the middle where the pollen is, and it was scanning me down, and it was a real short trip, um, but I continued on with those trips long after that. That's for sure.
Yeah, that it's weird you mentioned Goblin, man, because that was like my first, not my not my first experience with DMT, but my first real trip like that was kind of the same thing. I laid back and I felt like this. I heard this echo thing, and I saw like everything shifting around me when I had my eyes open, and I knew that I was like, okay, this is how it's gonna start. I knew,
Yeah,
from it. I just laid back down, closed my eyes, and all of a sudden, I felt like kind of like I felt this imminent fear of death though. I had to keep telling myself, you gotta breathe, you gotta breathe, you gotta breathe, because like my lungs hurt. Maybe it was because I held that hidden so long. I don't know, right? But all of a sudden, I realized that I was tripping, and I saw like the kaleidoscope tunnels come forward with my eyes
yeah,
closed.
yeah. The
But I saw the
tunnel.
fucking goblin too, man. But mine looked like the Lord of the Rings goblin guy, that whatever his name is. But it was a
Yeah,
goblin though.
mine looked like he had a big nose and pointy ears, like you'd see like a goblin look, kind of hunchback, real short. He was just smiling. It was fucking crazy. It was fucking nuts.
You
You
know,
know?
it was weird. Is mine kind of looked like that, but he was more looked like the Lord of the Rings guy. But he was definitely a goblin. But he said one thing to me. He said, "So we meet again," or he said something like that, like, "Or you're back," or
Yeah,
something. He said something like that, and man, I just ignored mine. Like I didn't know what the fuck it was. It was cool though because it was kind of like lucid dreaming. Like I knew that I was tripping, but I didn't. My first time, I didn't know what to expect, and so I just decided to go down one tunnel, and that's when the dude,
yeah,
like, I ignored him because I was kind of scared, and he stretched his arm out, man. He had this hook. It was like a finger, like elongated,
yeah,
like a cartoon, and like grabbed me by the ear, and it hurt. And then he kind of pulled me in
yeah.
towards him and goes this way, or he said something to that effect, and then I snapped out of it because I got scared. But it's why do you think that we see goblins and not elves or Superman or Playboy bunnies or whatever? Like,
Um, I think it's dependent upon your belief system. At times, I think that there is inward and outward um, stimuli. I mean, like every time you walk around and you're conscious, right? Like parts of like that part of consciousness gets translated into the dream world, which is related to DMT, right? Like you'll start to have images come in from your normal life and your normal beliefs, and that's because I think, in my opinion, that we have information in our DNA, right? And so all these things that we know about are somehow, whether it's passively or consciously, is being recorded by your brain, right? So these archetypes that exist within inside us, it's hard to say whether or not that they're because there's a weird connection that a lot of people have. They've seen goblins, they've seen DMT elves, they see god forms. They have religious experiences, and some people don't. Some people don't have those at all, and those are people who don't get a lot out of it. I don't know. I'm a person who sees archetypes. I see archetypes whenever I go in there. Two of the major archetypes that I've encountered that seem to be a beginner archetype that a lot of people see is they see an archetype of a woman who's loving and dances around, and I call that one the mother. And then there's one that is kind of domineering, that is what I call the father, because it's very strict and scolding and wants to teach you a lesson or kicks you out. And then I've had experiences where there was the blending of them both. But those two archetypes, on top of elves and another one that I've seen a lot, that in fact my wife and I have an experience. Other people that I know have experienced is the goddess Kali. She seems to be rather prominent, like within certain visions within the DMT world, and I don't understand that either, but that seems to be pretty prominent.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I mean, I've only gone under twice where I've had like that type of experience. But the second time was different though. Instead of the kaleidoscope tunnels and a goblin, it was like, and I hate to admit it because people watching these videos on my YouTube were like, oh, see, it's because you don't believe in Jesus, you saw hell. But it was kind of hellish. Yeah. It was actually kind of hellish. It was like a big well that with like flames coming up it and stuff and like burning cinders and shit. It was fucking hellish, and like this broken, crookedy staircase leading down. And I looked at it and I was like, fuck that. And I looked over and there's this alien looking like from Predator, like the Predator movies, is Schwarzenegger. It's one of those dudes, but different. But it was one of those guys. And he wasn't transparent. He was just standing there looking at me, and I'm like, what? And I said, where's the goblin? And the dude just like almost like a statue, but he would occasionally turn his head so I could tell that he was real. Or not real, but he was animated. And then I remember what you said about Kali, man. Because I was kind of lost. I wasn't going to jump down that fucking hole, but I didn't want to deal with the fucking Predator either, right? So I'm like, I remember what you said about Kali, right? And so and so I called Kali, and I heard, after calling the goblin with no response, I called Kali, and I heard from Kali. I don't know if it was Kali, but when I called out to her, I heard a little girl's laugh, and that was it, man. And then that kind of startled me, because then I was like, I felt this pressure on my head like that, right on my forehead. Eye. And it and that right after that laughter, and I didn't know, like, oh fuck, am I like passed out? And like, is somebody trying to like wake me up? Am I like the paramedics here? All of a sudden it's like brrr, reality came back, and it's like, and then I woke up, and I still felt the pressure though, even when I opened my eyes. And the weirdest part about it though was when I opened my eyes, I was still obviously tripping, but I looked at my hand, was the first thing, and like it looked like a mummy's hand, like my hand and my forearm looked like it was like 1,000 years old, like bones and this rotted skin and shit. I looked around and there was like dust, and like all my tables and stuff were like disintegrated. It looked like it was like death. Yeah. And I don't know, isn't Kali supposed to have something to do with death, or is
she's a death goddess? She's not really like people consider her to be like evil, but I don't think she's an evil goddess. When dealing with her, I kind of felt like she was kind of like a stepmother that wanted to put fear in us so we wouldn't be afraid. You understand what I'm saying? Like that kind of energy.
So when we're talking about Kali, though, are we talking about an actual entity, or are we talking about Kali as a manifestation of our subconscious, like an archetype?
It could be a manifestation of our subconscious. It could be a conscious vortex or thought form.
Right.
I tend to believe that it was more of an archetype, like a totem, but I have encountered strange experiences with DMT that were physical manifestations. that seemed to be, in my opinion, beyond going into hyperspace, but dealing with an entity of some kind. When it came to Kali, it sometimes felt very smothering, and I couldn't tell whether or not that she was like either connected in some way to that dimension, or that it was an archetype at all. I can't. There's no proof of that. Only that I had the experience.
Didn't you mention that you like under one of your trips, like when you came out of it, that you saw UFOs or something like that in El
Yeah,
Cajon?
yeah. That was the night I met Kali for the first time. I and a friend. It was July 4th, 2012. We decided to have kind of a get together at my house, and my friend Rye decided to load us up with huge bowls of DMT. Some stuff that had been cleaned, and some stuff that was a little bit more organic and brown, but he loaded it up like in a nice little pile on top of, I mean, we were piled up. And it was me and my buddy Derek. And he wanted to take us both into this trip. And my friend went in, and he was instantly like asking questions like, who are you? What do you want from me? I'll do anything you want. Just tell me what you want. Tell me. He was saying that as I was going in, right? And for the longest time up until that point, I had seen like the mother figure, or the, Dakini, or whatever you want to call it, dancing around. At this point, during this trip, it felt like the father figure and the mother figure had merged into this kind of. I saw a really beautiful like woman standing there, and she wanted to show me like the dark side of things, and it was really like organic, and it was really like just gross. She showed me dark stuff, and then it felt like hell. It felt like I was like it literally, where she was showing me there was like these Asian demons popping out of intestines and weird like organic shit. It was fucking weird. Okay, so I started coming out of it, like, and I saw her like kind of in front, and she had lots of arms, and she was wearing this weird headdress, and she was like yellow and gold and blue, and as I started to regain consciousness, I was looking up at the stars for a moment. My eyes would open up, because I went from like, when you take a huge hit of it, you tend to like go to sleep kind of. It's hard to stay conscious. You have to, and then as you start to get consciousness, you start to open up, and you're still tripping a little bit, but it starts to fade out real quick, right? And I looked up at the stars, and there was like 3 stars in a row, just bright, like just sitting there. And I'm like, oh, I'm tripping balls. And as I look up at the corner, I was sitting outside. I look up at the corner of the house. I saw a light that was moving around in a circle. And as I look at the circle, I realize, oh, that's just probably a star. I'm still tripping or whatever. And as I get consciousness, it starts to move from in a circle like this over my house. It went over my roof and over my condo. I was with a bunch of people, and some of the people saw this. They saw it go over my house and then do a 360 and head east. Now, I couldn't tell you if that physical manifestation was brought on by the fact that I happened to be doing DMT at that moment, and just happened to be a UFO passing by, but I could definitely feel like something in my third eye as I was looking at it, and it was dancing around in a circle. I felt pressure right here. Now, I think that there is a possibility that under this psychedelic that and any psychedelic for that matter, because since I did DMT, all my shroom trips are DMT-like now. My acid trips are DMT-like now. Like I feel that presence, like I don't know how to explain, like a ringing in your ears, and it's been one of like many encounters what I think is paranormal, like that can happen when you're doing psychedelics. I think that you open your mind up to seeing things possibly that are like out of frequency. I don't know. I can't explain it. I'm not a scientist.
Yeah, well,
but I can tell you that I've had experiences, a lot of experiences. Maybe it's just that I'm a natural empath too, and that I'm on this, and that I'm picking up on both frequencies. I don't know.
Well, that's kind of that's kind of the thing that I'm interested in exploring, man. Is how much of it is just you fiddling around with your subconscious, just because under the influence of DMT, the borders between consciousness and conscious, subconscious and conscious are blurred,
Yeah.
to where stuff is slipping through, and they're manifesting as like goblins or elves or whatever, based on archetypical images that we're all too familiar with growing up in Western Christian
Well,
society.
what if both are real
Or,
though?
well,
What
that's what
if
I'm trying to explore myself, man. I don't believe the
yeah.
goblin is real, per se. I don't believe it's an entity. I do believe that's a manifestation. But there's a certain point where maybe you're right. Maybe under the influence of DMT and other psychedelics, maybe you're more susceptible to external stimuli. Which, if that external stimuli, if you believe in certain deities, or you believe in forces, or you believe in interdimensional beings, stuff like
Yeah.
that, that maybe it's possible that they are
I
aware
think
now that you are aware, and so they have
I
maybe
think
something
belief
to
has
say.
a main factor of it. I think belief and faith has a main factor to it. That if you are someone that is prone to seeing things in a paranormal fashion, or seeing things or encountering things too, I believe that yeah, it's there. We talked about this last time a little bit too, didn't we? About how beings with their projections, right? If they are beings that are here, they're only allowing us to see what they want us to see, right?
I don't recall. I
Oh,
do.
okay, it's yeah. We talked about it a little bit last
Okay.
time.
Okay.
What if that plays a factor with this too? What if through continued use of this substance or whatever psychedelic substances, um, I mean, we only need to look at the study that was done by the Ministry Health, British Royal Health Organization, where David Nutt was a part of, and he did the first study of psychedelics on the brain, right? And they did a CAT scan of someone's brain, and they found out that we've been told for years that it was frying brain cells, right? It was fucking. You take this drug, you're gonna go fucking insane. And then they did the actual study of it. They found out that when a person does psychedelics, all the parts of the brain are communicating all at once.
Hmm. I didn't know that. Okay.
So anything's possible after that. I mean, then you're in the role of science fiction a little bit, right? We've had stories of tales of people who use all the parts of their brain, right?
Sure. Sure.
What
Yeah.
if this is the idea, in some way to unlock parts of us that I mean, I don't know about you, but I know that once I started doing DMT, it changed the whole fucking thing. Everything that I was ever looking for spiritually, right? When it came to psychedelics, or the thought of that, right, came from DMT, right?
Yeah, honestly, I haven't been doing it long enough to actually have any real definitive
Okay.
opinion on it, which is kind of what I'm trying to
Okay.
explore. And luckily,
Yeah.
a dude hooked me up on. I'm not going to mention his name, obviously, but from Reddit. Actually, no, some dude hooked me up from Reddit, but another dude hooked me up, who's local here in San Diego, with quite a bunch, enough to last for quite some time. And with my, I got this instead. This time, I'm going to step it up. Instead of sandwiching it, I got this Yocan thing, which is like a wax
Yeah.
vape pen. And apparently, based on what I've read and based on what he recommends, is the way to go. So, man, I mean, I sprinkled it on weed before. Sometimes I've sandwiched it, sometimes I put it in a cigarette. But I want to go to the moon, man. If I'm going to do it, I want to go. I want to. I want to go as far out as possible. At least once, at least
Well,
one time.
um,
So,
well, well, I hand it to you for be careful what you wish for.
sure, sure, absolutely.
I'm just saying, in my opinion, that sometimes it gets weird. Like sometimes it's not just archetypes from inside us. Sometimes it can bring in other things.
Well, and that's one kind of an interesting point that I wanted to touch on too. Is like I look at DMT as being it's kind of a trendy drug where it's like a lot of young people are doing it, and I'm thinking like from someone who's been doing psychedelics and who's done large, heavy doses of LSD and shrooms.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
my initial experiences with DMT, I was like taken aback. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa! This is like I'm kind of like this is not a game. This is not like taking a hit and
No.
like walking
Mm-mm.
around the woods, man. This is a lot more intense, and I could see the potential hazards if somebody who's not careful, like especially if you're prone to schizophrenia, you might think you're having a religious experience. I don't know, man. I'm just saying, like
Well,
it's a lot it's a lot more serious and intense than I
I think
expected.
that we have to start to take it like the natives did, man. I think that like whenever I did it, I always tried to work as a guide for people. I think that you need to have like one person going in and then other people around uh, there to help out the person deal with, because it's kind of a traumatic kind of experience in a way. It's very powerful. It's not like you know. I mean, I would okay. Here's shrooms, right? You can go up that high, acid, and then there's DM fucking T. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that the problem with this is that people, and this is the thing that I've dealt with this drug. No matter how much you explain it to someone before they take the drug, right? They're either going to be ready for it or they're not. All right. And there's the vast amount of people out there that don't want this experience. They no matter how much you explain it to them, they just think, oh, I'm going to get high and everything's going to be fine. I'm going to walk around and trip out, right? But then when they take it and they see it for real, I have more than a few people just get up and try to walk out the fucking door, just scared as fuck. Like they're just not ready for it. Like there's a legend about the DMT too, that if you're looking for it, it'll find you, right? Like when you're ready for it, it's offered for you. It's all hippie, like kind of urban mythology about it, right? And the thing is I don't think that everybody is willing to step outside, because it changes your reality, right? Like ever since you started doing it, even the few minor times that you've done it, it's changed your outlook on reality, right? Almost completely.
Honestly, it hasn't. It hasn't.
No?
It's brought up more questions. It's definitely brought up more questions,
Okay.
but it hasn't really.
Okay.
I haven't had that experience. But then again, I've only like really had two real experiences. I'm planning to do about 10 before I come to like a solid conclusion.
Good luck, man.
No, I got it. I got the means to do it right now. So it's sitting in front of me. So I'm going to do it one way or
Right.
the other.
Well,
So
right.
yeah, but no, I mean
It's good to search, dude.
yeah,
Put it there.
absolutely. And that's what it's all about. I like with like the LSD community, man. Which I'm a big part of. It's like I see a lot of people taking LSD and they want to like some sort of like out of body experience. They want to travel the
Yeah.
astral planes. They want to go to different dimensions. They want to have a spiritual experience even. And with LSD, I
Well,
think you can, but I mean, I think it's so much easier on DMT, and I think it's so much instant than as opposed to LSD.
well,
And I mean,
that's what I'm saying about how your trips change the more you start doing more DMT.
sure,
Okay. DMT teaches you how to let go, right? Like if you fight it, you're gonna have a bad fucking time, right? But it pretty much tells you how to let go and just kind of go with the flow of where it wants to take you if you let it, right? And after I've done it. I don't know how many fucking times I've done it, probably too many. But after a while, I started to experience and maybe other people can relate to this too. After a while, you know how people talk about how they can control their dreams and stuff. Like
sure.
they can have lucid dreams and they're very much in control of it. I've never been someone that can really control my dreams, although there's been times where I felt like I could, but not really. But in the DMT world, it went from when I first started using it to pure consciousness and not really knowing that I'm alive or dead, but I'm just experiencing this stuff, to getting to a point where after a while I was able to interact with beings. I'm able to talk to them. I'm able to feel like I'm still in both worlds instead of just stuck in one. And that's prolonged experience with it.
Well, yeah, and that's interesting you mentioned lucid dreaming because my initial experience as a novice, and I consider myself a novice with DMT, what was, I remember it was very much like kind of a dream. Like I knew that I was tripping, but at the same time, I knew that like I was not. This is not reality. But then at certain points, it became blurred. But I'm a lucid dreamer though. Like without the actually the DMT just in general. But when I tried to lucid dream within the DMT realm, it didn't work the same way. And that's why I know it's distinctly different from a dream, but there are similarities because basically I didn't have
I
my
don't think
magic
it
powers.
is. I think it's the same. I mean, you're just a beginner at it. I've done it more than a few times, so I'm going to tell you, the more you do it, the more you're going to be in control and be aware that you're going to be in that state.
Okay,
Because the first step when you smoke it and you start to go back out, everything echoes, right? It's all like
sure.
just echo, 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 echo. It gets larger, and then you enter the box, and then it go into the tunnel. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the start of it all. That's just the beginning of it all. The
Yeah,
more
see,
you
yeah.
become a psychonaut, the more you're going to have control in that area, and you'll be able to go where you want to go.
See, I haven't really got past the box yet. I've gotten to the box and I've explored the box a little bit, but I haven't been beyond that because
That
I
box
get out of there.
is you.
Yeah.
That box, that tunnel, that's you. That's your consciousness. That's everything that's made up of you.
Why do you think it's always kaleidoscope tunnels and stuff? Why do you think that people have the same type of imagery? Do you think it's just based on our
Because
psychic makeups, like based on
I think
our
it's
human beings?
I don't know. I think it's something that's beyond us in some way. It was something that was figured out, and people started to use it, right? And they started to know. Like, I mean, the natives, right, of South America. I mean, even the ones of Central America, North America had their ways of going in that were real similar to like ayahuasca, you know. And then later on, people started figuring out how to synthesize it and turn it into a smokable DMT. Like, I look forward to the day that I can do an ayahuasca trip and actually do it like a tribal, you know, like how it was meant to be done, you know. Although I hear it's not a very pleasant experience at all, although the actual DMT itself is a lot more nurturing when you drink it through the ayahuasca than you do if you smoke it, is what I've been told. But I wouldn't mind I wouldn't mind taking a trip actually doing it. You know, I just, as I understand it, there's a lot of shitting involved and a lot of throwing up involved before you can even get to that state, right? Um, I don't know, but it still seems like it would be. I would still like to try it. You know.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not rambling.
No, 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 no. I actually know somebody, a personal friend of mine, who tried ayahuasca, and that's basically what they said. Is they said I would rather smoke DMT any day just because you can get there so much quicker and you don't have to go through the shits and the puking and all that stuff. And the ayahuasca lasts a lot longer.
Yeah.
It's more like mushrooms. It's
Yeah.
like it'll stay with you for a lot longer, whereas the DMT will pass after about 10, 15 minutes. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't
yeah.
know.
And that's what I preferred about it too, about the DMT, at least doing that first. Well, not first. I did acid and mushrooms first, but uh but since that experience, like I said, it's changed my experiences on mushrooms and acid on those drugs. I tend to I don't know how to explain it. People say it's called going primal, where the drug takes over. I almost feel like it's like a possession almost, where the drug LSD or the mushrooms start to take over, and it's because I reach a certain point where it peaks, and my brain kicks in at some point, remembering DMT and how I'm having to let go, and then I take off.
You know one thing, like I've tried to relate like DMT to LSD, and someone who's taken large amounts of LSD, and I'm not just talking about the 30 hits. I've also done 10
Yeah,
strips a few times. It's like but it honestly though, like DMT, like the first experience that I had where I really like was able to get through, like
yeah,
that. It's not even really comparable. It's like a different type of psychedelic altogether, because like they were
yeah.
actually vivid hallucinations, unlike LSD, which were even on large amounts were like
Passive.
you passive, exactly. I could tell. I'm like, okay, this is cool, and I can see it. But if I focus really hard or try, it'll like snap back into place. With the DMT, no, man, it was like
Well,
yeah.
mushrooms can take you there. Different kinds of mushrooms can take you there for sure. Like I did I did 10 grams of mushrooms one time on accident.
Damn, dude, accident. How do you eat 10 grams on accident? I can see LSD,
Well, I
but
got
mushrooms.
cocky.
Oh,
I
okay.
got cocky. I got cocky. I I I was weighing out on a scale. Uh, 3.52 is what I was going to weigh it out. I found a pleasant experience that I could still trip and not lose my shit, because I was doing 5 gram doses. I was doing large doses, and I accidentally set the scale for ounces,
Oh, okay.
and I got cocky. I thought, oh, these are small, these are airy, whatever, and I wasn't paying attention, and me and 3 friends ended up doing 10 grams of fucking mushrooms, and let me tell you that I was not prepared for for 10 grams of mushrooms. I was fucking, I lost my shit. I've had more than a few bad trips, man. And I was not ready for it. And I'll tell you that on 10 grams of mushrooms, I was seeing beings in my house.
Wow,
I was
really?
fucking seeing shit on fire. Yeah, everything was fucking crazy, dude. Like I almost threw myself into traffic. I thought there was fucking shit on my house that wasn't even real. Like there's a part where when you start to you cross the veil and you go too high that your brain will automatically start doing shit. And then when you've taken a lot of mushrooms, almost similar to DMT, it starts to, like, if you have a worry, that worry will echo out and then it'll start to become cyclical. And that's what happened. I had a fucking bad trip. I've had more than a few bad trips. I recently had a mushroom trip where I had a near-death experience. And I went down to hell and shit. And what I figured out was these translations, right? Like, I used to think bad trips were bad, and they used to fuck with me, and like, you know, and now I'm starting to see that through great pain comes great change. Okay, like when you go through a bad trip, it's there to teach you a lesson that you should respect this and fucking treat it like it's fucking like powerful fucking magic, because it can fucking within an instant you can switch off and not realize what you're doing.
Huh? You know, I don't have
Yeah, but I had a bad
that experience.
what I realized with the hell experience was that was the death of my old self. My old self, the Christian ideology that I had, right? Because I was raised Baptist. I wasn't born a pagan. I became a pagan, right? And what I was seeing through this hellish experience and feeling like I was dying was the death of the old self. It was that death. And the death of probably the Christian ideology that I had. But I saw like the flames, like I saw like towers and pentagrams and all different signs. And it was demons and shit. I was seeing fucking demons. I swear I thought I was dying. I thought I was having a heart attack. And what happened was I had shrooms, right? I did 4 grams, and I hadn't done them in a while. But I also kept my shrooms in a dark place. And what happened was those things became fucking ultra strong, fucking powerful. So it felt like once again I did like 10 grams. It was fucking rough. But I think that those experiences, like, well, once again, we're going back into near-death experiences, right? And the fact we talked about this, we tried to talk about this before we re-recorded, but about how DMT is connected to death, right? Like people who are dying, they have very vivid hallucinations that seem to last forever, and they have either hellish experiences or heaven experiences and stuff like that. In my opinion, like whether there is an afterlife or not, and I believe in one, but if there is not, then if you're allowed to die naturally, I would think that you would be given that experience regardless. And I think that it would also, once again, be representative of what you believed in beforehand. You know, if you were a Christian, you would probably see heaven. If you were Satanist, maybe you see hell. Maybe you wouldn't see anything. I don't know. But, you know, maybe this also has to do with some people seeing archetypes and some people not seeing anything at all, too. Maybe some people aren't able to see archetypes. You know, I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not sure, man. I mean, as far as the archetype thing goes, it's just interesting that people see the same types of creatures, because there's a million different creatures people could see, right? You could see a million different types of imaginary creatures, but why you see goblins and elves come up as a lot, that's kind of interesting. So maybe subconsciously, you'd have to actually take like some sort of like poll as far as like different races, different cultures who are doing this DMT, which might explain a lot too. Why elves and goblins are predominant. Is it predominant with middle-aged white men from America like you and I? Maybe right? Now if you give some black guy who's 80 years old in Africa, is he going to see elves and goblins? Because if that's true, then there may be now we got to start looking for different reasons. But I think it's cultural probably, because we both grew up in religious. Typical white America, religious around the same time, because we're about the same age. So it's like, it's like, so maybe that's just, Well, we see.
I had a friend I gave it to one time, and she was really obsessed on a boyfriend. And when she tripped, all she saw was his face going around and around in a circle.
That would suck.
And she saw fucking herself pregnant with some baby and all sorts of shit. And another person that wasn't ready for it though, but decided to try it, you know, and fucking, I definitely do believe that, like, you know, whatever you're thinking it or whatever is in your subconscious is definitely going to come through.
Well,
sure.
yeah, well, you know, just like with LSD or shrooms, like people ask me, like, you know, I'm gonna do my first fucking hit of LSD. Do you have any advice? I'm like, yeah, I do. You know, if it's your only do one hit if it's your first time, right?
Yeah.
Two,
Yeah.
make sure you're in the right mental space, because if you're like, you know, worried about, oh, is my mom going to come home and catch me, or oh, I got to go to work in like 4 hours, or okay.
Yeah,
no,
not the space to do it.
Yeah. You got to make sure that you are carefree, right, for like at least 12 hours, right? Then you do it, right? Yeah, carefree.
Yeah, or
Nobody's
be with
gonna
people,
fuck with
in
you.
my opinion. Be with people, think of it as a ritual. Like, be with people that are going to help you, not fuck with you.
Well, but you never know, right? Because they're people and they're unpredictable. I always recommend doing it by yourself, because if you can't handle
you
it
got some
solo,
people you trust, right? Well, yeah, but what
yeah.
if you lose your shit and you don't have someone there? Like, you do need to have some people there that are paying attention to you and making sure you're all right.
Well,
That's all I think.
On larger doses, I would say yes, but on one hit, I think if you can't handle one hit, if you need a trip sitter for one hit, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
I don't know about that, man. There's hits out there nowadays that would make fucking anything that I did in the 80s fucking look like something you just throw away. I swear to God, like the shit that's out there right now. So there's some fucking powerful hits of acid out there right now. There's some fucking woo.
What I sent you, that is that's allegedly 240 UG, so that's allegedly twice. Allegedly. Now I have no way to test it, but you tell me, man. I only took a quarter and went to work, man, and so allegedly I took like 50, you know, which is only like nothing. That's like half a regular tab. But it was.
Maybe I'll call you and you can film me acting weird shit.
No, but it was strong enough though. I was taken aback, because I remember like in the day I used to eat like 1 or 2 hits and go to fucking school, man. Like go to class. I was tripping. Yeah. Now it's like got 50 hits, and I don't know if it's because I'm older or if it's because the shit's stronger. But I was just like, whoa! Like I'm glad I didn't take any more, because I was at work and I'm just like, oh, this is getting a little weird. Like this is. So maybe shit is stronger.
Breaks are good, what man. Do you think? Breaks are good. Breaks are good.
We'll find out. I'm curious to know now that you say that your DMT stuff, now that when you do other psychedelics like LSD and shrooms, that it brings back the DMT feeling, because there is definitely a distinct feeling, and I have yet to experience that, because I've got some of the LSD still, so I'll try to blast off that next week and figure it out.
Yeah, take a couple hits and see if it's you start to set stuff.
So yeah, man, just to kind of wrap this up, like what do you think? Do you think that? So I think we're on the same page here, except I think that you're a little bit more adamant about it. But I think we're still on the same page. Whereas you think the DMT is possibly unlocking something in your mind that makes you more susceptible to external stimuli, such as possible interdimensional beings or entities of some sort that are actually real. Yes. Okay, not just in your mind, but real. Okay, cool.
Every once in a while, sure. Every once in a while.
Okay, cool.
It's got to be at the right place at the right time, right? Like, it's about that. You're at the right place at the right time, and all of a sudden it gets real.
Okay. Well,
not like I'm looking for it or anyone's looking for it. I'm sure I'm not the only one out there that has experienced some pretty fucking weird shit, like, because of it.
Well, no, not at all. Not at all. And but you know one now. I'm actually looking for it. I'm going in there with the pure intention to fucking figure this out. And if I got to fuck with stuff, I will. You know, I'm looking for it. You know, I'm not passive anymore. Man. I'm not passive anymore, man. I'm going in like a fucking head.
Go into nature and do it. Go into nature and do it. Nature is where things are raw. Find a place in the mountains or the desert. Go out there and fucking and meditate before you do it, and go out there and fucking and search for it. If you go looking for stuff, sometimes it comes and finds you.
Honestly, man, I'm thinking about going down to you're for being a San Diego native yourself, I'm thinking about doing something in La Jolla, like some of these La Jolla beaches, like Bird Rock. If you go at night,
well, stay away from human fucking interaction. Like,
well, of course. Oh no, I wouldn't do it around anybody. No, I know some secluded spots at the beach though that are like you can't get to unless you really want to. Like you could do it, and you could be absolutely certain that nobody's going to be around for hours. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Just to be out there by the water and stuff and the beach.
Well, yeah, or even out in Lagunas, you know,
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
Borrego Desert if you found a good
Desert.
time to be there. They say February or January, just before January. Okay, let's see. October out in the desert, it's still warm, you know, but it's not that cold. And you go out there. I wanted to go out there. I was trying to plan a camping trip before I left, but it never fell through.
Dude, like the middle of the woods of the desert would be awesome. My best LSD experience was in Tucson Desert. That was awesome. It was great. Because you feel like you're more in touch with the nature.
Go there with some people that have your back, you know, like that necessarily just want to be there because you're there. I would say do that. Like, you know, I don't recommend anyone going into the woods by themselves and doing acid or DMT and then, you know what I'm saying? Like, take it seriously because there's always that possibility that things can go sideways. It's just the way it is. And the natives believe this, and they had fucking ways of doing this for a very long time. And I think that we need to follow. And in order to have the experience that would be positive, right, you need to follow certain things that have been set up since the Stone Age, which is don't do it alone. Do it with people around you that are going to be there to help you. Like, take it seriously because there's that one time you get cocky and it's 10 grams of shrooms, right? Like, it's just fucking happens, dude. Like, you know, especially when it comes to LSD, not knowing the dosage of what you're doing, at least with DMT, you could take something and then within 20 minutes, maybe half an hour, you're done and you're ready and you're in your house. But even then, like, I'd still wish I had someone to talk to about it because it's so traumatic. So I would still say find someone in advice doing psychedelics, like take it seriously, like take it where you're observed and helped. You know, it sounds hippie, but it is what it is, right? Like,
well, I mean that's a more cautious approach, and I don't disagree with that at all. Yeah. But I do also think that there is some. I don't know about you, but I can't. If I were to, I prefer to trip alone, just because I can't feel like I can like let go in front of other people. I have an insecurity and a guard, because there are people around. Yeah. I think if I really want to get to the bottom of shit, I got to do it alone. But you're right. There has been times where I've wished there was somebody around, and there wasn't.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if it was just one person.
Yeah.
That was cool with what you were doing. That was cool with what you were doing. Knew that you were going to go in. It was there for you when you came out of it. You know, I think that's, you know, if I was there with you, Zach, I'd do that for you. I'd just be your guide.
True.
I'd chill with you.
True. Yeah. You know, I've noticed that for a long time, and you have a lot of experience with LSD. You'd be one of those friends that would like actually be there for you, and not one of the friends that would wait for you to start tripping and then start fucking with you and put it on YouTube.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Right. Fuck those people.
I know, right? I got you on Instagram, bitch.
Yeah, fuck you.
Exactly. Yeah. Right on, man. Cool, man.
Well,
it was always great
you,
talking
man,
to you.
And,
absolutely.
And all of my left-hand path brothers, you have yourself a good night.
Is God and show business too.